terrorism expert. John, thanks for joining us.
And nice to be with you all again.
All right, so explain this. Well, we've had these two terrible situations, one with the bomber and now with this synagogue shooter, spewing hate and vile on these social apps. What are your thoughts as you watch this?
Yeah, so these two incidents of last week really are a stark illustration of the convergence of two dangerous trends in our country. One, as we've talked about on multiple mornings, we've seen an increase over the last 5 years of mass casualty attacks by disaffected, mentally unstable, violence-prone individuals who, primarily because of what they see on the internet or on social media, self-connect with some ideological or political cause and use that as the justification for a violent attack. But what we're also seeing now, and this is something that really has law enforcement concerned, is over the past 2 years in particular, we've seen a ratcheting up in the hostility of our political rhetoric, where your political opponent is no longer simply someone you disagree with. It's someone who's corrupt, who's a criminal, who's evil, who's trying to destroy the country. And in many respects, in the same ways that the postings of groups like ISIS and white supremacists and neo-Nazis impact this group of disaffected people, the political rhetoric in our country is beginning to do so as well.
It's almost like a Trojan horse, right? Zuckerberg started Facebook to meet girls. Jack Dorsey started Twitter to make sure fire trucks could get to the fire faster. And they've created this whole other world. They're at fault in some way. I don't know how, and I don't know how they fix it.
Yeah, I mean, that is such an interesting point. And I think how history treats the development and the evolution of these technical capabilities. I mean, clearly they've been good for society in many ways. They've connected people across the globe, like-minded people across the globe. They've opened up our access to information, but it's also had an incredible impact on the way that terrorist, extremist groups, mass casualty attackers, criminals, and even foreign intelligence services operate. I mean, one thing that we are seeing very clearly is that the people who conduct these attacks, particularly over the last 5 years, spend a lot of time consuming violent material. They interact with people on these platforms, and they receive validation for their violent tendencies. And then as they prepare to conduct attacks, they use those same platforms to spew out their hateful messages, often foretelling of the attack to come. So, it used to be that we considered what happened on social media as a reflection of what happened in the physical world, but now these two worlds have come together.
As somebody who was in the Department of Homeland Security, this social media platform that people are hearing about for the first time, Gab, what can the federal government do? There is a free speech issue that you can spew this vile hatred on these apps. It isn't like radio that is regulated by the government. So what can the government do to sort of help solve this problem?
So we can do what we do in all areas of violent crime. We have to come to understand that as we look at behavioral indicators that allow us to detect an emerging threat, we have to include behaviors that occur in cyberspace. And you're absolutely right. It's not the job of the FBI or local police to police thought and govern thought. You have the right in this country to spew as much hatred as you want. You can't incite violence. You can't threaten people. And law enforcement needs to have better capabilities that as people come to their attention, because of their actions in the physical world, they're able to look at what they're doing in the digital world so they can evaluate whether this person poses a risk of violence or not.
John Cohn, ABC News contributor. John, thanks for your time.
Yeah, talk to you.